that's a whole different conversation to have about where the school is now. But just speaking, on the athletic side of things, Furman has to navigate these crazy times that we're in, different from a lot of schools, even inside our own conference. The Southern Conference itself is crazy with the different kinds of teams that we have. We have 3 true state universities in Chattanooga, ETSU, Western Carolina. We have 2 military academies in Citadel and VMI. We have 2 schools that operate as legitimate private schools in Furman and Wofford. And we have 2 private schools in Sanford and Mercer who pretty much, they're private schools, but athletically they operate more as a public school. When it comes to athletes, they'll make academic exceptions to get into school, NIL money, and that kind of thing. And that's just inside our conference.
Yeah, that's just a SoCon.
Yeah, so it's really intriguing to see how all of this has moved, how it continues to move. I have to tell you, if I were working at a school that was, wide open as far as all this stuff goes, I don't know how much longer I could do it.
Yeah.
Because to me, the charm, the intent of college athletics has really been demoralized with everything that's gone on in the last 5 to 7 years, and it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah, it's just going to get crazier, as we have seen. Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned the SoCon. I always think of I love every year watching the SoCon tournament. Those are always pretty entertaining. So, 2 years ago, Furman beats Virginia in the first round of what I call March Madness, the NCAA tournament. And see how we don't need to fear those things. And so also, you guys know, during this time of year, we roll out our preaching plan for the next year, as well as our Bible reading plans and all those different things. So you'll be able to pick those up, hopefully, as we get closer to December. So, Brother Dan, we kind of did a catch-all 52-minute episode with you over the phone. That was so much fun, and I loved it. But let's just catch up with you a little bit. Obviously, super excited to hear what you have to say to our men tonight, and I know they're excited. As I was telling you off air, our men's ministry has gone through a total relaunch, and that has been awesome because we're just a lot more organized, we're a lot more focused. We kind of know why we exist now and what we need to be doing. Dan, when we talked with you last, we were kind of previewing Furman. I think Furman had to play 1 or 2 games. Give us an update. How's Furman doing this season in football?
Well, as we're recording this, the Paladins are 5-4 and 3-3 in the Southern Conference, with 3 games remaining, 2 conference games, and a season-ending game at Clemson. We will not make the playoffs because of the 3 conference losses. It's really a kind of a strange. Strange isn't the right word. I guess we got off to a 4-1 start, and the loss that we had then is a game that we never should have lost, but we did. And then we hit a bit of a skid. But as we've talked on our broadcast, we've talked with Furman's head coach. We still have probably 75% of the Furman roster as redshirt sophomores or younger.
Oh, wow. 8
of the 11 starters that we had on defense the last game that we played were sophomores or younger. And it's been a process at Furman that we have to go through because we're not a school that's going to live in the NIL world. We're not a school that's going to live in the transfer portal. We will take the right transfer who can meet the academic requirements. We will take grad students. We'll do that. But you go back to 2 seasons ago, 2023, when you had so many players who were reaping extra eligibility because of the COVID year. That team came within an overtime play of hosting the national semifinals. We lost in the quarterfinals to Montana out there. 41 seniors exited that team.
Yeah, wow.
And grad players. So the roster remake and rebuild is a process, and Furman is a developmental program. So that's what we're seeing right now. Even bouncing back from the 3-8 season a year ago when we were just decimated by injuries, and still having a young team, we've seen progress, but there are also a lot of improvements and a lot of development that still has to happen, and that can only happen with age and experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you kind of mentioned that, and we've actually talked about the transfer portal on our podcast before. It's crazy. And how does the transfer portal? Do you guys have a lot of people transfer out after the season you regularly?
Well, it's interesting because nobody will say it publicly, even at the big schools, but player agents are always getting in the ears of players at smaller schools who are having good seasons, maybe good careers to their first couple of years, and saying, "Hey, if you should consider moving, we'll do this. I can get you this." So after last season, we did have 3 significant players move on and go from the FCS level where we are to the FBS level for varying amounts of money. And I don't know the exact figures. They weren't getting rich, but it was enough to get their attention. But the interesting thing is that none of them are playing.
Yeah.
Or not playing significant minutes at all. And so what our coaching staff is drawing from that now is, okay, we're here at Furman. This is who we are. You are going to be a student and student athlete. They're working to get some traction in the NIL space, but it's money they're going to have to raise and do that kind of thing. But it's never going to be part of the Wild Wild West. But Furman this year had 4 players on opening day NFL rosters.
Wow.
Including Ryan Miller, the wide receiver at Tampa Bay, and 3 other players. We are going to have, I'd be shocked if our kicker this year, Ian Williams, is not on an NFL roster sometime next year. Yeah, well, his career long is 57 yards twice, and he told us today that he's hit a 70-yarder in practice.
Wow.
And he doubles as a punter.
Okay.
So the point is, you can get to the NFL at Furman if you're good enough.
Yes, you can.
But if you don't, look at the degree you're going to get and be able to, especially if you're going into the business world, and be able to fall back on what is looked at as one of the best college degrees in the country. So that's what they're talking about. And now they're starting to get this backlog of information of players who left in the transfer portal because of NIL, and you're seeing that they're not getting everything they were promised.
Oh, yeah.
They're not playing.
Yep.
And you can stay here and you can play and you can do what you want to do, get that college degree, have it in your back pocket if the NFL career doesn't work out. And if it does, fine.
Yeah.
So, for a school like Furman to have 4 players on NFL rosters as this season opened up is pretty strong.
Oh, and that's a huge marketing point too, from the coaches recruiting and everything. And in a place like Greenville, I know it's Travelers Rest, or what I call Travelers Rest, where Furman is. Greenville is quite the business epicenter, right? And you're not far from Atlanta, and you're not far from Charlotte.
Right.
So there's opportunities everywhere as far as that goes. Yeah, my granddad, as I was telling you off air, he got a Furman degree. He was super proud of it. That Furman degree probably didn't mean what it means now. Back then, 70 years ago, times have changed. So what's Furman basketball? I know you called a game last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming they won. Not sure.
Oh, no. We got beat by a High Point team. And again, NIL.
Yeah.
Okay. High Point invested $3 million in its roster.
Just in its roster.
Yeah, that's a mid-major basketball program.
Yeah.
That's the world that we're living in.
Yeah.
And you can get upset at the overall direction of college athletics, but you can't get upset at High Point or any other school that's operating within the rules as they are. And if they've got people who want to invest that kind of money in a basketball program, then more power to them. Because I promise you, if somebody came to our school and said, here's a check for $3 million, go get, Furman would still have to do it within the framework of what they do academically.
Yeah.
But they would be a lot more of a player in the game, quote unquote.
Yeah.
At least within the parameters they could. That High Point team, they are going to be a handful for a lot of people. They went to the NCAA tournament for the first time in their school history last year.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think they got a little bit of taste of that success, and they have they have gone all in, as a certain coach is famous for saying.
Yeah.
And we got to see it firsthand last night. They are really, really good.
Wow. Well, that's crazy. Was it there or?
It was
Furman?
actually in Rock Hill. It was part of the Field of 68 opening day marathon.
Okay.
There were 3 games in Rock Hill, 3 games in South Dakota. And the Field of 68, for people who don't know, is a media entity that is dedicated primarily to promoting mid-major basketball. And so the games were televised on their YouTube channel, but it's a very, very popular YouTube channel.
Gotcha.
So they had a ton of viewers. So they had it set up where there were 2 games in Rock Hill early, 2 games in the early and mid-afternoon in South Dakota, back to Rock Hill for our game that started at 6:30, and then they closed out with the last game in South Dakota.
Gotcha.
Last night. So they had 8 games over the course, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern and going all the way through.
Nonstop basketball.
Yeah, the last game would have probably tipped off at about 9:30 Eastern time last night.
Wow. So, according to preseason rankings, where is Furman basketball predicted to finish in the conference?
Pick second preseason in the SoCon.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's going to be a season that I think our fans are going to have some patience in the non-conference portion of the schedule, because we've got a number of returning players, some really, really good high-level returning players, but 4 of our top 10 players are true freshmen. And so there are going to be some growing pains, and that's part of what we saw last night. Got beat by 27. And so the Furman team that we saw last night is not going to be the Furman team when March rolls around. But when you're asking fans to be patient,
especially Furman fans who were in the tournament 2 years ago.
But it's true for any fans. If you want to put it in a biblical context, what does the Bible say about patience? It says tribulation works patience. That's why my dad told me shortly after I got saved, don't pray for patience, because the Bible says tribulation works patience. Well, I think in a sporting standpoint, for Furman fans, basketball fans this year, there's going to be some tribulation early in the season. But by the time we get to March, I think this is going to be a team that's going to be as good as advertised. It's just going to take some time to grow those young players.
But you got a great coach, Bob Ritchie, and he is a great coach. And I'm surprised he hadn't got poached by some other programs.
Oh, they've tried.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
And there have been some programs that have dangled some high dollars in front of him, but he has chosen to stay here. He likes what he's been building, and that's not to say that if the right offer came along that he wouldn't go, but I think once they started raising the money a couple of years back for the Timmons Arena renovation, and I haven't talked to him about this, but I just believe he committed to seeing it through.
Yeah.
So, this year, we played downtown in downtown Greenville at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena, the big arena.
Yeah.
All last year for our home games, while they were redoing it, a $44 million renovation. And they got their money's worth. It is an absolute jewel of an arena. I mean, it's not the same place.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait. I'm going to go to a game this year, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
I've heard so much about it. I did a wedding at Furman this summer in the chapel, and that was a lot of fun. But
might have been the only Christian thing that happened in that chapel in the last couple of years, but I probably shouldn't have said that out loud.
You're probably right. Furman's been out of the SBC since 1992, but prior to that, they were on a downward spiral way before 92.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach a Baptist history class here at church, and we dive into that. Furman's downfall, as I call it, theological downfall.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of good things going there.
But you know what I found out? And I knew that there were a lot of good Christian people at Furman in the athletic department because I work with them. But when we went through the pain of losing our grandson, almost January will be 2 years, and then 6 months after that, losing my dad, I found out that there are a lot of good Christian people embedded in other places at the university, not just in the athletic department. And in fact, I'm part of a university-wide email group that once a week there's some inspirational biblical stuff shared, and so it's just like when Elijah was feeling sorry for himself. After the huge victory over the prophets of Baal on the mountain, and then he does that or God does that and shows off that power, and then he gets scared of Queen Jezebel and runs off, and he says, God, I'm the only one there, and God says, what are you talking about? There are 7,000 who haven't bowed a knee. I've got my remnant. God's got his remnant everywhere.
Mm-hmm. That's so true, man. That's so true. And you look at that text, and he was ready to die, said, hey, God, I'll just go ahead and take me. But, so kind of transitioning here. Obviously, Furman football is about to wrap up. Other than PC this year, it's been a rough year in the state of South Carolina for college football. Of course, South Carolina is not doing well. Beamer's on the hot seat, and the guy in the upstate team that wears orange, I won't say the name. I'm a diehard Garnet and Black, but his name starts with a D and ends with an O. He's on the hot seat as well.
He's not going anywhere.
No, he's not.
And I'll say his name because we're recording this on a Tuesday. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to be at the Dabo All-In Foundation Awards Banquet because Grand Slam Ministries has been awarded a grant from his foundation for the third straight year.
Really? That's great.
And tomorrow's the awards banquet. So,
that's exciting.
So selfishly, I hope he's here for another 10 or 15 years so the foundation doesn't go away.
Yeah.
But no, it's not been a banner year in this state for college football by any stretch of the imagination. But I think there are lessons to be learned, and I think one of the things that a lot of people I hope are learning is that maybe they hold that in too much esteem. Maybe college football has become an idol in their lives. Maybe, and when I say that, I'm preaching to the choir because I have to check myself regularly because of the broadcasting job. When we go across the street here in a little bit, and after that dinner you've got me all worked up about now, and I share my talk with the men, I'm going to open up with the call of Furman beating Virginia and how God used that call in my life to remind me of a couple of things. Yeah. So it's I think we all have to check ourselves. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being a sports fan. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of your favorite team. There's nothing wrong with that at all. until it starts to take the top spot in your life. And that's anything. It doesn't matter if it's sports. It doesn't matter if it's your job. It doesn't matter if it's chasing money. It doesn't matter if it's your relationship with your spouse. Your relationship can become an idol.
Yep.
So, as a former pastor of mine used to say, it's easy preaching and hard living.
Yeah.
So when I share that tonight, I'm going to share how God used that to remind me that He's the one who's in charge of all those things.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned Grand Slams Ministries a minute ago, and I've got a T-shirt now, and you got the polo on. Just talk a little bit about last month, I believe's event. Now this November already. Of course, Sid Bream. We talked a lot about that last time we talked with you. I wasn't able to make it. The distance proved too great. But tell us about how successful that was.
For a first go at something like that, I was very pleased. And anybody who's put together an event like that, normally they're working on it to a certain degree year-round, and then probably at the 6-month mark is when they'll really start kicking in. And if they've done it long enough, they've got a process, and it's something that's always going on in one form or another. We pulled that thing off thanks to a wonderful committee of people that I have working with me in 3 months.
Wow.
And so I have to check myself because, they said, well, we could actually get like 430 people in the gym. And all right, let's go. Well, we had about 150.
Yeah.
And looking back, I think that ended up being about the perfect number for a first opportunity, a first shot at this thing. And it went off remarkably smoothly. Sid I cannot begin to explain how wonderful that man was to work with.
He's a great guy.
He's got a phenomenal testimony. As he and I got to know each other more over the course of this, and especially since we spent so much time together when the day of the event, when I picked him up at the airport that morning, and through the next day when I took him back to the airport to fly home to Pittsburgh. We have a lot in common. Our testimonies have a lot in common. And he was just phenomenal to work with. Easy, not high maintenance at all. We had a wonderful committee that helped. We were able to come in well under budget because of some donations of things that we needed. Like we had budgeted $2,500 for food. We did a low country boil. We wanted to do something different, not just your standard barbecue or something like that. It was phenomenal, and every bit of the food was donated. We didn't have to pay a dime for it.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, we ended up clearing about $11,000.
Wow.
And we've picked up another $140 in monthly donations.
Wow, that's good.
So that is a wonderful, wonderful start. I mean, so what that's done is pretty much everything we raise right now is going to buying the radio time.
Yeah.
And so where we're standing right now, we've probably got about the next, 7 or 8 months of radio time in the bank.
Awesome.
And normally we're operating at, somewhere between 1 and 3 months.
Gotcha.
And so it'll give us a little flexibility to do some things, a little flexibility to try to figure ways to get more people engaged with what we're doing. And one of the things I'm going to talk to your men about here tonight is the fact that God is using this radio show that we're doing on a weekly basis in ways that I never dreamed. Mm-hmm. The show itself has become a missionary. I mean, we're on 40 over-the-air radio stations. We're on 7 internet-only stations. 2 of those are international. Probably 95% of the people who listen to the show listen to it live when it airs, and that's, probably somewhere between 300,000 500,000 people.
Yeah.
Just guessing, because I know what the numbers are from the internet station in Paisley, Scotland.
Yeah.
And so just kind of projecting that into the over-the-air radio. But what's happening, Brady, is the archives when I record a show, it goes to our stations, it airs on the radio stations Saturdays and Sundays. Sunday evening, I put out the archive.
Yeah.
That show, that the archives are now starting to make a significant dent in countries all over the world. 3 or 4 months ago, we had 100 in a 30-day period. We had 164 downloads from Turkey.
Oh my!
Which is a Muslim country.
Yeah.
The next month we had almost 130 from Hong Kong.
Oh wow!
In the last 30 days, I looked today because I wanted to be up to date when I talked to your men. In the last 30 days, the show has been downloaded in 20 different countries.
Wow. That's awesome.
And this is a radio show that I do from my little office in my house.
Yep.
Now, when I started, I knew God was leading me into this. I had no idea where it was going to go. We were on 2 radio stations the first week. We were on 4 the second week. And it's grown from there. But I had no inkling that what has happened with the archives, people are downloading it from the podcast side or from the however they're getting it, had no clue that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And now what we're seeing is that we're spreading the gospel and sharing these testimonies of God doing amazing things in people's lives in a unique way, and it's starting to resonate not just with people who listen on those radio stations, but for somehow, some way, it's starting to resonate with people all around the world. And Sid Bream, we were talking about this driving in from the airport. He said, who translates it for those people? I said, I don't know. I said, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
Who translated it on the day of Pentecost when everybody heard Peter's message in their own language?
Yep.
God's going to find a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to find a way.
That's a good point.
But the fact that now we can tell people, if you'll donate to help us, what you're donating, and we've got other phases we want to implement down the road, and eventually I want to get where I'm an employee of the nonprofit.
Yeah.
So I can do this full time and give up the broadcasting and do what I know God's called me to do, but that's going to be in His timing, not mine. But now we can tell people, look, if you help us, if you donate, whether it's $10 a month or $25 a month or a one-time donation of whatever, what you're doing is you can't go to a foreign country. You can't go to Turkey. I can't go to Hong Kong. I can't go to Albania. I can't go to any of these places. But this radio show is.
Yep.
Through the podcast archive. And so what you're doing with a $10 a month, $25 a month, $50 a month, whatever it might be, all of a sudden you're supporting a missionary that God is using from Central South Carolina and using the technology that we have available now and getting it to the world. And I promise you, people, it's nothing that I've done. It's nothing that I've done because I'm the world's worst because I think I know the radio industry of getting blinders on and saying this is the way that it has to be done. And then God laughs at me and says, maybe we'll try this and see what happens. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yep.
I can see that. So it's been really, really interesting. And what it's done, it's whet my appetite to try to find a way to get this thing really, really moving, but at the same time, walking that fine line of not getting ahead of God in the process.
Yeah. And that's tough for all of us.
Yeah.
Because I think, you mentioned the blinders. We can all do that from time to time. So anyway, we're getting close. I want to give you enough time to be able to get ready and start mingling and meeting with the men and eating, of course. We'll kick things off at 7 tonight. And we actually had a men's meeting last Tuesday and this Tuesday. We're doing back-to-back. First time we've ever done that. So we'll see what happens. But just trying to drum up some excitement.
Either that or he's setting me up for if nobody shows.
Yeah. Well, you got Alan and I, right?
Yeah,
if nobody shows, you'll eat good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, there is an old saying, I know you're doing it with ham, but I think it still applies, where 2 or 3 Baptists are gathered together, a chicken will lose its life. So in this case, it's a pig.
Yeah.
Same thing applies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dan, we hope Furman puts a fight against Clemson. I'm assuming you guys get to go to those big stadiums.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we go. That's one of the things about being at a school like Furman. We play a quote-unquote money game every year. So this will be, in my 15 years, this will be the 4th time we've done Clemson. We've been at South Carolina 3 times. We've been at Virginia Tech twice. We've been at NC State twice. My first year, we broadcasted from the Swamp.
Oh, wow.
Against Florida.
I remember that.
Had them down 22-9, and the people were booing Will Muschamp.
I actually remember that.
They ended
game.
up beating us 52-30, but it was interesting. We've broadcast. We played LSU down there.
Yep, I remember that.
David Cobb interviewed Mike the Tiger, which was interesting. So we've played at Michigan State. We have been able to see some pretty cool facilities, and basketball we've been to some pretty high profile places as well, until we started getting good, and now people won't play us.
Don't want to
no,
play.
they won't play us.
Yeah.
So, but if I can just say this before we go,
sure.
If you have any questions, you'd like to know more about what we're doing at Grand Slam Ministries, you can go to danscottshow.org. GrandSlamMinistries.org is a page at that website, so you can go to either one. And then my personal email, dan@danscottshow.org, or we have a ministry line, and this is something that also blew me away. I started giving out our ministry line and saying, hey, if you want to text me there, text me. And all of a sudden, that phone started blowing up. People love to text.
Yes, they do.
So 864-788-9596. 864-788-9596. And however you want to get in touch with us, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I appreciate you having me back on. I wasn't expecting this today.
Yeah, I know it wasn't
so what he knows cheap labor when he sees it, right? He's got me here. He's going to use me as much as he can in the window that we're here.
That's right.
That's right.
But Alan, you wouldn't know anything about that, working under Pastor Brady, would you?
Not much.
No, I definitely tried to, I tell people all the time, I think I'm smarter than I look. It might be wrong. I'm not sure. But anyway, so, yeah, we got to get you down. Obviously, this season's almost over, but maybe sometime next year we'll get you down to a Swansea Tiger game and let you help us out with that. It's been a lot of fun. So they're 8-2 on the season and hosting a home playoff game for the first time in over 15 years.
Wow.
So as I've said before, winning cures all sometimes, and it definitely has this time. So, hey, guys, thanks for listening to Menorah. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We will see you in December, and please take Dan Scott up on his offer. Let's blow his phone up even more with that phone number. All you got to do is track back, and obviously on YouTube or Spotify, and you can hear him repeat that again. GrandSlamMinistries.org. You need to check that out if you haven't already. And if you think this is the last time you're going to hear from him, Lord willing, that will not be the case. Dan Scott will be with us on Father's Day this year. I booked that way in advance on purpose, and he's going to come and speak to us on Father's Day. So, and that'll be this coming June. Thank you so much for listening to the Menorah Podcast, a podcast that seeks to share the light, speak the light, and send the light of Jesus Christ all across the airwaves of the internet. Thank you for listening to episode 91, and we'll see you in December.